When you pick up a new manga, there's always a possibility of being transported to another world and to be hit with a wall of wonder and amazement just waiting on the next page. You never know what you're going to get. There's a premise, sure, and eventually you become familiar with the setting, but there are certain worlds that most of us don't know that are right under our noses. For a story not set in medieval battlefields, ancient civilizations, or futuristic city streets, it's very impressive to turn us towards something that's more grounded in reality. Further, it's even more impressive to me that there are series that take something that is traditional and well known, like Rakugo, the traditional Japanese art of storytelling, and thrusts you into the art, politics, and traditions of that world. When this is done right, you can't help but read intently to the next panel, page, and chapter to see behind the real and metaphorical curtains of these systems. And when I tell you that Akane Banashi does it right, that's an understatement. Rakugo is a lot like manga. Both of these arts are storytelling. Ranging from comedic to heartfelt, the performer's job is to take you into the world that they're setting up. Their portrayal, body postures, movements, voices, and the rest of the performance materializes the characters, settings, situations, and interactions for the audience. Their primary goal is to not only make you believe in the story, but to be invested in the Rakugoka, or the performer, so you can see the world that they're shaping. Manga is much the same way. The aspects of storytelling are in both, but what really separates Akane from the rest is that manga and Rakugo couldn't be more separate from each other in terms of their performances. Manga is exclusively drawn and written, while Rakugo is exclusively acted out loud with voices, gestures, facial expressions, and the like. Akane shines in making these two mediums cross over into an incredibly enjoyable read. Further, it doesn't make you feel like you're losing something by having to read what would normally be a live performance. In Akane's first chapter, this is brought to life for the reader through the exquisite facial expressions and body posture by Akane's father during his performance, and the way that Akane is completely hypnotized by the way that her father tells a story. Look at how this is set up for us. Through Akane's first chapter, we see through the eyes of a child and what makes them so engrossed in this form of storytelling. I can see them. It's just Dad alone in a study. But inside the room, I see three men. With each shift in his direction, his expression, voice, and the way of speaking changes instantly. There's a mean-spirited one, the touchy one, the carefree one. All of these pop out of him. You wouldn't believe that it's just one person talking. There are three men in there having a chat. It's incredible. You can see things that aren't even there. It's like magic. And what's really important to make this magic come to life for us to read is that the art isn't detailed in the sense of making the panel look as realistic as possible, but it is so precisely detailed in matching the expressions from the characters and the performer. The grimace, the rolling up of the sleeve, the giant presence of the character in the background make it all come off of the page. And each panel, no matter how small, Takamasa Moe, the artist of Akane Banashi, painstakingly details the facial expressions and mannerisms to match the performance and the characters in it. This single chapter and this single breakdown of this performance sets up our expectations moving forward. I know that with every performance from here on out, I need to be invested, and I need to see the different characters, and I need to see the differences between them and how these characters come off of the page, not only for the audience in the story, but also for us as the reader. If you didn't know, there are two separate people who work on Akane Banashi. Moe, who I mentioned earlier, is the illustrator, while Yuki Suenaga is the author. Not to be outdone, Suenaga has really shown how to write an engaging story. What I think Akane does better than maybe anything else is the tragedy of performance. It's how, if you've given your heart and soul to a specific craft in your life, how does it affect not only yourself, but everyone else who's involved? That can be family, friends, teachers, students, and even those in the audience are affected by how Rakugoka take on the pressures of being a performer. Some succeed, some reach the absolute heights of the industry, and some lay it all on the line. They lay their entire being out to bear and be judged, and they give it absolutely everything that they have. And they still fail. Shinta, Akane's father, struggles with the pressure of being a performer and how his life is impacted by the path he's chosen. Throughout being introduced to him, we see him struggle with the decision to continue pursuing his craft, how it affects his life by being a father and a husband, and how going through this life affects the way that his daughter is even treated at school by her peers and other adults. There's a great burden on wanting to get to the next level in the industry by becoming a headliner or a Senuchi. The only thing stopping him is what he's grappling with while he's on the stage, in his life as a performer, while he is judged by all. If you've ever been in a production, whether it was professionally or casually, you know exactly how critical one can be on yourself during a performance. I've been involved with the arts and theater since I was 6 years old. I can say with confidence that the one who is the most critical of a performer is yourself. It's really hard to put into words, but the best way that I can describe it is this. You are so desperate to make sure that the audience is engaged and having a good time that you completely throw yourself against the wall at this effort to make sure that it goes well. It's honestly a really surreal feeling of your body being an autopilot and acting out the script, but your mind has the constant danger of slipping somewhere else. There's a risk of you during your own performance becoming so hyper fixated on every slip of the tongue, every missed cue, and how the audience is reacting to your performance. You remember nights where a line got a big laugh, and on other nights, it's like the audience didn't even hear it. You think, was that because of me? Am I the problem tonight? Am I not speaking with the same ferocity or passion as I am on other nights? Oh my God. I'm the reason they're not having a good time. I'm the reason they're not engaged. I'm ruining these people's nights. And it's honestly a really bad headspace to be in. But if you can get past that self-doubt, something happens. The instant you feel that the audience is bought into your performance, some switch in your mind flips, and you find yourself absolutely entranced in the moment. If you climb over that hurdle and get on a roll, there is absolutely no feeling in the world like it. Whether it was a childhood play, or when I was in state competitions, or when I'm at work, or when I record these videos for you now, when you are on a roll, there isn't a force in the world that can stop you. As a performer, you feel absolutely enthralled in the moment, and you can't imagine that there is a single person in the audience who isn't just as passionate as you are. They are bought in. They believe you. They believe what you are saying. After you have performed with every iota of your being and everyone is bought in, and you walk off of that stage and you just know you killed it. That's why it's so heart-wrenching when it's taken away from you. Shinta not only doesn't get the promotion, he and all of his fellow competitors are banned from the school they attend. The performance was so bad in the eyes of one judge that they are completely and totally stonewalled in their lives moving forward for this craft. When I first read this, I thought that it hit extra hard. You see these panels of Shinta letting go of his doubts, fears, and anxiety to become one with the performance. And when you look at the aftermath of this banishment, there's no need to see his face. You know the devastation that's fallen on him. There's no art or drawing that can do it justice, but you can just feel it. The characters and the story have set the reader up on this path of hope and positivity, only to be told that it wasn't even close to good enough. I think it's really important to highlight those feelings before even mentioning the main character, because the world that we're introduced to is one where her father did everything he could within his abilities, and he still failed. The risk of this world is that you're constantly being judged by yourself or others. It's a looming constant threat. While there are other antagonists, other people who are going to be competition in the future, people that Akane will inevitably go against later in the story, what this first chapter teaches us, and the thread that is constantly drawn throughout the rest, is that there is no greater antagonist to a performer than themselves. But Akane is special in the way that she pushes past these feelings of doubt that plagued her father. Her goal is to avenge him and become the Shinichi that her father dreamt of. She wants to prove that her father's talent and style, the magical performances that she saw as a child, was right. The one that she's let become the foundation of her own performances. Her father's style isn't some insult to the art. It's her goal to make everyone see the genius of her father's talent and abilities. She'll put herself out there in the same way that her father did. She will lay it all on the line with every ounce of her being to prove that her father was right. It's his skill and his style and putting himself out there is what Rakugo is all about. I will say that it's more than just a focus on her father. Akane is a marvelous character on her own outside of all of this, and is shaping up to be a golden main character. While at times she's brash, loud, and confident, but she has these other moments of real vulnerability. She sees these moments of self-doubt and she strives to become better, realizing that when you're performing, the only person that can help you is yourself. Her expressions are always dynamic and charismatic, not only during her performances, but also during her everyday interactions. This is someone who has a natural talent to become an amazing Rakugoka. With every panel, we as the audience see that she has completely and totally infused the style of performance into her everyday mannerisms. I think she's a great main character because of her resolve. She won't be pushed around in an industry that might take advantage of those trying to break into the world of Rakugo. And these principles are core to her belief systems and values. There's always a new way that she's pushing herself to become better, and how she's willing to prove to everyone that her style of Rakugo is worthy of praise. I also think that the side characters are excellent. Each performer has their own niche way of getting an audience to start favoring them over their competitors, or to make a statement about their craft. And what's really cool is that every performer has a different skill set to how they achieve that goal. Kaisei Arakawa, for example, makes use of his skill of playing both extreme ends of the spectrum with his characters. One moment, he's a seductive woman, and then the next he contorts his face and body posture in the most absurd possible style to throw audiences off and make them laugh due to the polarity of his act. Every time that he pushes the spectrum of the performance further away from each other, he'll get a bigger reaction. Or you see experienced Rakugoka, like Urara Run Saika, who have been able to climb over various obstacles in her journey to make it to the top of the Rakugo world. A less experienced or interesting manga would have made it easy for her to roll out the red carpet for a new female Rakugo, and perhaps making an easier path for Akane, but she doesn't. She'll really genuinely push Akane out of her comfort zone if it means that she'll become a better performer. If that's what makes her better, it is totally worth it. I think that it's a great way to have someone be a teacher, but also a foil if it results in a better performance in the end. That's the point of these Rakugo pushing themselves to become the best that they can be. Overall, I seriously recommend that you pick it up. It's only in the low 40 chapters as I'm writing this, so it's a quick, but it's a very enjoyable read. I think that if you're making your own manga or comic someday, this is a really, really good starting point to see why a series is taking off and what makes it popular. Now, that's all that I have for today. I made a community post earlier about it, but one of my New Year's resolutions is to upload one video a month. I totally slacked on it last year. Yes, these videos take a lot of time to make. Yes, I get total writer's block in terms of what I want to write about, but at some point, you gotta shit or get off the pot. So if you want more analyses like these, make sure to like and subscribe so I can fulfill my New Year's resolution and hopefully bring you something that you'll like in the meantime. Thanks again for watching, and this is Panel Flow.